That I'm seeking to meet, I'm overcoming, steady grinding, keep my beat to the street. I keep my mind thinking wise, hoping better to keep rising high, go get it with the vision I see. I'm getting clever, yeah. Special deliveries out. Special deliveries out on the way. I'm on that midday hustle and I'm hitting my stride. Clock ticking, never missing, no reason to hide. City passing while I'm moving and I'm taking it in. Hitting every door, crashing and I'm wearing a grin. Through those alleyways, tucking, navigating the wake. Every package is a hustle, I'm wide and awake. No slowing, improving, making these cakes moving. Through with the take, through with the thrill I create. Damn, it's a plan, no overstand, I'm free in my zone. Drop hit, pick it up, lose full control. Don't mind if I splash while I'm making these waves. Life like a knife, baby, and I'm cutting my way, I'm better.
in the sky or up all night. I need this, slow dance with the gravity. I eclipse with your hands all over me. Ooh, I swear, you got me way up there, a cosmic affair. Ooh, I swear, looking at you there, it's a cosmic affair. Heart beats like the planets are keeping tempo. Hold on to me. I think I'ma die if you let go. I need this, slow dance with the gravity. I eclipse with your hands all over me. Ooh, I swear, you got me way up there, a cosmic affair. Ooh, I swear, looking at you there, it's a cosmic affair. Can you keep me dancing in the stars lit? Can you keep me spinning in your orbit? 'Cause ooh, I swear, you got me way up there, cosmic affair. Ooh, I swear, looking at you there, it's a cosmic affair. You got me way up there. Cosmic affair.
for them, please. They were amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have them here. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Climate Week. Shana Tova, happy fall. Before I begin, I want to thank, again, our amazing performers, Daniel J. Maldonado, he plays Romeo in & Juliet on Broadway, and he was accompanied by Noah Turner, who is best known as the musical director for the Jersey Boys. Another round of applause for them, please. My name is Danny Nierenberg. I am president and co-founder with Bernard Pollock of Food Tank. Food Tank is a research and advocacy organization really devoted to highlighting stories of hope and success in our food and agriculture systems. We do that with the aim to inspire, motivate, and ultimately activate positive transformation in how we produce and consume food. I couldn't be happier to be here tonight or today to talk about the urgent need to unlock and scale the solutions that will make our food and agriculture systems part of the solution to the climate crisis. That's why we're all here at Climate Week in New York City. Every year I say the same thing though. I say we have no time to waste, that we can't, and this is especially true this year because we can't wait 3.5 years for leadership at the federal level. We need to work on climate action, all of us right now. And if we can't look to our leaders to guide us, we need to create our own roadmaps to turn our food and agriculture systems into climate solutions. And I know that we can. This year at Food Tank's Climate Week programming, we're bringing together 300 speakers and performers, 15 summits, 7 US members of Congress, and 15 food and climate journalists. They are here because they know that a climate resilient future depends on regenerative, nourishing, and just food and agriculture systems. And you're here in this room because you know it too. So give yourselves a round of applause for coming. So during today's summit, we'll talk about new approaches to nourish communities, the innovations that are allowing us to upcycle byproducts into delicious snacks, and the businesses that are helping us rethink what it means to balance people and profit. These examples will be part of the action plan that we need as we build towards COP30, the United Nations Climate Change Conference that will be in Brazil in a couple of months. And I'm excited that food and agriculture will have a really big place at the table at COP this year. And the roadmap that we're creating this week will hopefully carry into COP and carry into the future. Before we talk about what this summit will look like, I want to thank our partners who made today possible. A huge thanks to Unilever, especially Dorothy Shaver. Give her a round of applause. A big thanks to our hosts, WNYC, including Ryan Wild and Chase Culpin. They're amazing. A big thanks to our culinary partner, Great Performances, who has made the delicious lunch that you just had, and you'll have more of their food later, so give them a round of applause. And I want to thank Arva for making the reception that we'll have later today possible as well. Round of applause. I have to get some housekeeping out of the way. Because our sessions today will be fast-paced and very dynamic, if I cut a speaker or a session short, I hope you'll forgive me later. We want to hear from as many people as possible. Whether you're here in person or tuning in online, I also hope you'll use the hashtag Climate Week NYC to share your comments, your thoughts, your critiques, etc. You can also email me directly at danielle@foodtank.com, and I will try to get back to you in real time. Or my co-founder Bernie will. He's always checking my email. So for our first conversation today, I want to reintroduce Dorothy Shaver, who is Unilever's Global Food Sustainability Lead. Give her a round of applause. So Dorothy, we're here to talk about trends and habits and really what's going on. I'm wondering if you can talk about the trends that you're noticing right now in our food and ag systems.
Sure. So thank you so much for having me, but thank you so much for being here. There's a lot of different events this week, and it's really great to see all of these huge change makers in the space of food come together. So our job is huge, right? We have to change the way that we talk about food, the way we serve food, the way that we grow food, and the way that we love food. And in Unilever, of course, we have huge brands. We have huge brands that work as levers for change. I have quite a few examples for you that I will share. But in addition to that, we're working on really looking at what's the difference between a trend and a habit. And we actually need better food habits. And the thing about trends is that they're like fun, they're cool. We love to talk about trends, right? In Vogue, they always show like the new color trend, the new food trends, and that's fun. But we really need new food habits, and habits really require a lot of change, right? And that really requires us in all of our spaces that we're working in food to really move trends to be habits so that we can shape the future of food. And to do that, we need to do some work to figure out what people like, what they don't like, what are some easier ways that we can help them to make these changes. So we recently did a piece of work in Unilever with Gen Z, and if you know who Gen Z are, it's a huge cohort of very influential people in the big population, about 2.5 billion people, about $360 million of spending power. So you can see why we might want to know what they want to eat. And we did a piece of work to really understand what they care about when it comes to our big three levers around the way that we grow our foods in more sustainable and regenerative ways, the way that we put ingredients into our foods, so what nutritional value are they looking for, and also what they're looking for when it comes to how we package our foods. And what was really interesting is that a lot of the work that we're doing in Unilever, of course, is changing the practices by which we grow our foods to have a more resilient food system. And most of the people that we spoke to actually didn't really think about or really, I don't want to use the word care, but really care about the way their foods are grown. The key things that that came out of this, I'm not going to share all of them, but a couple of them. One is that, of course, there's a huge influx of functional foods with benefits around energy, around sleep, around memory, and well-being in general. Of course, protein and fiber is absolutely huge. I mean, there's a lot of protein maxing, there's a lot of fiber maxing. How do we utilize that trend to really move people in the right direction, to use less resources from the world for our food system, and also to be healthier? And Gen Z also sees food as a form of identity and self-expression, which is really interesting because it's really being compared to their choices in fashion or their choices in habits. So there's something in there that I think we can work together to really shift, to really move the food in a better direction so that everybody can have delicious, nutritious food that is grown in better ways. So those are some of them. Others that we looked at were advanced meal preparation, but also combined with really easy meals for one, and overall healthier lifestyle. So these are some of the shifts. But what I think we really need to think about and talk about today, which is how we shaped this session together. So I'm so happy to see so many of you here, some of my very close friends in the world of food, and really trendy, cool people. So I'm sure you maybe looked at the agenda, but there's some really cool people on the agenda, including us, of course. But I think, we really need to look at some of these trends and say, how do we actually take these trends, turn them into habits so that we do have a roadmap for a more nutritious, delicious future in the world of food?
Absolutely. In the few minutes we have left, Dorothy, what's a habit that you would encourage everyone in this audience to try to take with them as when they leave Climate Week?
Okay, well, my favorite habit that I like to tell people is to actually eat a wider variety of foods. So I don't mean to bring up my past, but I'll bring it up. In 2019, we published, of course, Future 50 Foods, NOR, and WWF. And that was all about abundance. It was about trying different color foods, different textures, different flavors. And that's what I would really encourage people to do. If you happen to work in the food service sector, we have somebody from the Unilever Food Solutions here in the room. But if you happen to work in that sector, we know that people try foods actually first in a restaurant, and then they'll potentially try them at home. So there's some work that we can do in that space to really help people eat a wider variety of foods. Most of our calories come from just 3 types of grains. That's really harmful to the planet and also harmful to us. So I really hope that in the future we can all identify as varietarians because we eat a wider variety of foods. So that's my challenge for you.
I love it. Varietarians. Anything you're most excited about for this summit today?
Well, I'm excited about a lot of things, but I think Rasmus is here, and that's really exciting. I really like him. So I'm happy he's here. I'm, of course, happy that Eve from Food for Climate League is here, because I'm, of course, a founding board member of that. And I'm mostly excited that all of you are here, so we can talk throughout the day.
Same.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning of the week, which is also really exciting. But I'm also really excited because we have an interactive session. you don't always get that, so you have to pay attention. So my question to you is, what habits are you going to help build and change in your home, in your community, and in your sphere of influence? Because I think we're all proud of the work that we've done, but I think we can all say that we have a lot more work to do. And I think we do need to start to change our habits, the habits of others in our home, in our community, and also in our sphere of influence for a better food future. So that's what I hope you think about as we go.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. Please give her another round of applause.
Thank you.
So we're now going to head into our next conversation with Chef Rasmus Munk, the founder and head chef behind Alchemist and Sphora. And moderating the session, we have a longtime friend of Food Tank, Kim Severson, the national food correspondent with the New York Times. Before they come on and before I go with Dorothy, I want to thank a few of our in-kind partners, the Goods Mart, Climate Candy, Baby Bell, and Quinn Snacks. It's over to Kim and Rasmus now.
You'd be glad to know that there will be no singing in this portion of our.
There will not.
Yeah, no singing. We didn't rehearse anything.
Freedom, that one.
Right. So, but thanks everyone for being here, and thanks for you coming all the way from Copenhagen. Where are your people? Look at your
Yeah,
things.
like second.
What is this?
I'll keep it like this.
Look at the AV guys coming.
Ah, it's okay now.
Where's your agent? The talent cannot be treated this way. Okay, so very, very happy to be sitting and talking with you. He runs a restaurant in Copenhagen named Alchemist, as well as an innovation lab. Probably just to get us all centered on what it is. You have a video, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you want to start that? This will just to give you a sense of his work. Are you all ready to cue that? I got the thumbs up. Not like what are the pasta specials tonight? It's not. But just so Alchemist is in Copenhagen. It has been on the list of the world's 50 best restaurants. Oh, I have to. This is going to come to you, and you're going to want to eat it right away. But you will not eat it right away because I want to have a chance to tell you about it. So if it's possible to just hold on to the chocolate so we can all eat it together. I know I'm asking a lot of you. but do your best, because there will be a moment where we'll talk about this chocolate, which comes from his innovation lab. Again, I see you in the front. You wanted to eat it. Is it possible to not? Okay. So the Alchemist, on the 50 best restaurants in the world list, 2 Michelin stars, 52 people a night, I think you seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Only one seating a night. The cost can be upwards of $2,000 US dollars if you have the fancy wine pairing and all the things.
Yeah, that's with the fancy wine pairing.
Right. Okay. And that includes 50 of what you call impressions.
Exactly.
Right. You call this holistic cuisine. Talk to me a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, but the holistic cuisine we initiated in 2019 because of the lack of I didn't feel like there was a cuisine like this in the world, and it is taking roots in French gastronomy, New Nordic gastronomy, and so on. So we stand on the shoulder on giants in that way. But I also wanted to have an element that was more than just the craft itself and just the ingredients, which chefs talk a lot about. I wanted to decorate the rooms in ways that could stir up conversations about things happening in society. The temperature in the rooms, the conversations that we can spark through a night. So having all of these elements and looking more holistic on things. So all from our toilet paper is black and smell of violets. I can say it's a very bad investment because nobody is smelling to the toilet paper. So, but having
but
the holistic, yeah, they will now,
know.
exactly.
Yeah.
So having the holistic approach for everything that we're doing, also working wise staffage and so on.
Right. And how many people does it take for you to do this every night?
112 people. So we're 112 people. And it's all from waiters and chefs, of course, but we also have wine list hired, dancers, VFX artists, graphic designer, industrial designers, PhD students, and so on. So it's quite a broad diversity of skill sets as well.
And I want to talk about a couple of the dishes, because I know part of your work is to address some of the crucial issues of our time: animal welfare, waste reduction, obviously climate change, the ramifications of what we eat and our dining choices on the world around us. Okay, so a couple dishes. I want you to explain. You may have other ones. Edible plastic made from dehydrated cod skin, served on a plate made from recycled plastic trash. A mousse of lamb brains and foie gras piped into a bleached lamb skull, then garnished with ants and roasted mealworms. A thin layer of rabbit draped over a silver skeleton. Now, there may be other examples, but talk to us a little bit about what are you doing with the rabbit over the skeleton? What is that?
What's that fetish?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that dish we call hunger. So it was developed in COVID time. For me, this big paradox that we live in a world where 800 million people is facing hunger, and 1/3 of all food that we produce for human consumption is wasted and discarded. So that paradox became even bigger for me in the COVID, because it was internationally, globally, we could change our behavior. We could stop flying. We could walk in the same direction. Like all of these habits that we had, we could change that because there was some danger coming closer to ourselves. And I was just like, if the world went together, having the smartest people in the room, they don't even need to find a new vaccine or a cure because we have it out there. It's just food. Could we then solve this problem? And that was, I went to my studio, said to the guys and my industrial designer that I want to have this rib cage made in silver, and then want to slice some of the more sustainable protein that's out there, animal protein, rabbit in this case, slice very thin and put it on as a little skin. So you need to peel off that from this rib cage.
Right, to think about that.
Yeah.
Tell us about the plastic waste dish.
The plastic waste is also a dish about plastic in the ocean. When we opened the restaurant, there came a report from Danish Technology Institute that told us like 1/3 of all Danish cod was filled with microplastic inside. And if you look on a global perspective, it was even bigger problem. So we wanted to kind of showcase that. So we take a jawbone from the cod heads that's normally just discarded as well. We use all of the time that's need to take in to clean it and make it nice, and then we cook it over open fire, and we serve it with some edible plastic on top that's made of different seaweeds and the collagen from the cod skin as well. And then you need to like withdraw the meat and the plastic and consume it yourself. Also to showcase guests that this is coming back to you in one way or another. I think Nature had last year the 0.4 milligrams of plastic now in human brains average. So it's quite a big problem.
A big statement. Yeah, a big statement. Is there another dish you're working on right now that you're excited about?
Oh, we have a lot of things. I think butterfly is interesting.
Now you actually serve farmed butterflies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm
So
not very popular to.
Is that's like a job to farm a butterfly? I had no idea, but
It's a job. He's on pension.
Europeans, am I right?
Yeah, it's Live, our good friend. He's 80 years old and former insect farmer.
Really?
I'm doing a project with several universities on insects and the proteins of that. We know, and I think that's interesting with the butterfly thing, because when we serve a butterfly that's farmed, people freak out completely. Like, why do we need to eat this? And we're not taking this. And we're not taking them from the wild nature. We're farming them, so they're safe to eat. But it contains this one, the little butterfly that we have made some scientific research on, contains around 3.5 times more protein than chicken, and very easy to farm. So it could be very interesting, maybe to the future. And in a restaurant like Alchemist, we want to put these things on the edge, so you have something to discuss and talk about. The easiest, of course, we will never sell it as a whole butterfly in the supermarket. I don't think that will run anywhere, but maybe as a powder and protein, and I think that you could put into other foods in the future.
What goes with butterfly? What does one serve with butterfly?
There's not that thing that's not going with butterfly.
I see. What doesn't go with
white
butterfly?
wine, red wine,
Yeah.
everything. It's good for everything.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, do you serve it on like with another preparation, or does it just come as it's?
No, we serve it on a little. It's a nettle butterfly, so they live on nettles, and then they feed it with honey water. So we serve it on a little leaf that's made of nettles, and then a nettle fresh cheese as well. So if you just put milk and nettles into it and just let it coagulate, then you create this kind of cheese. So it's a fresh cheese that's on top of that. And then with the butterfly on top, which is freeze-dried, so you get a little bit crispy texture.
Okay, I like it very much. One thing, and we had talked a little bit about this, is the chef as social and political change agent, right? And there was certainly a moment, and maybe started 15 years ago, where chefs became, an important part of James Beard had a chef boot camp, political boot camp. Chefs have certainly donated money and worked on hunger issues, labor issues. But how important is it still? I mean, how important is it for a chef to be trying to change the world in the way that you are? A lot of people think chefs should just cook. I don't want to think about stuff. I want to go to cook, do that well, I'll go eat that. Why are chefs, what do you think about chefs as political change agents, and why?
I mean, I think it's hard to take them all over one. Say, all chefs need to do some actions. It's not all billionaires or all companies and all entrepreneurs that want to do actions as well. So, but I think chefs have a big voice out there. I think we have a lot of spotlight on us as well. You can not turn on to the television and without seeing a chef program, and so you're getting a lot of time to speak. I'm sitting here today. I have a 9th grade from a little farmer city in Denmark. I'm not very clever, but I'm still sitting here and communicating. So I'm also trying to make sure that what I'm communicating is right, because that's very important as well. So I think chefs have the possibility to do that. I think restaurants is a very good communicator. It's a very good platform of also introducing some new things as well, as we just heard before. Restaurants is a place where you try new things, and that's what I feel like with our craft we can actually do things. And I look back for some years ago when I needed to take the decision what I wanted to do with my future, because I wanted to do something that had an impact, and that's what I'm driven by. And that's why I started Alchemist. I went to the bank, said I want to make a restaurant that's changing the world for gastronomy. I want to loan 2 million Danish kroner, and I don't want to earn any money. I just want to make an impact. I didn't get any loan in the bank. I came back a couple of weeks later with a budget where I said, now I earn a lot of money, and I actually got surprisingly allowed to loan the millions to do it. So I think my vision and mission is really to change and make an impact. And I could see in restaurants before I started Alchemist that these famous chefs, they're getting a lot of attention, a lot of and they have a platform where they could speak out loud. Because I mean, the most sustainable thing if you want to do an impact and change the world is maybe not to have alchemists running every day, to be honest. There's 10 projectors lighting up this huge planetarium. There's 112 people working there. We have people flying in from all around the world every night. So if you're looking from day to day, it would probably be the most sustainable thing to shut the thing down. But it's also is opening a lot of doors for me. So since we opened the restaurant, we have several initiatives that we started. one of the things that's quite local is now we're supplying all Danish homeless people, social vulnerable people with a hot meal every day. And that's succeed because I have like a position of being a famous chef, and I can open some doors, funding money to this project, and make it operate every day. So that's been out of Alchemist. I think that's what we're doing, and where we're looking at things that we do in the restaurant. We're looking very holistic on things. That's also why I started Spora, because we want to do things on a bigger scale globally.
Yeah, let's get. And this is getting into the chocolate piece now. So let's talk about Spora, which is you call it your innovation lab.
Yeah.
And how did that start, and what is the intention of it? And then you can take us through some of the products that came out of it, like the chocolate.
Yeah, since we opened Alchemist, I'm very fascinated about having a test kitchen. Everybody have a test kitchen. So I needed that one as well. And I think what it did difference from many chefs, I went actually to Copenhagen University, and I saw how much knowledge there was in this university, how many PhD students, master students, and so on, that made so much content. But it seemed like it was read by the same people that was writing it. It was like this kind of echo chamber of, like, being rough now, but like echo chamber of like not coming out and live. And I was like, where is this? Where is the platform that you can serve some of these innovations in? And we started having collaboration with the university, and over the time we published over 15 scientific papers in the restaurant, and that's quite rare. I don't think there's any restaurants in the world doing that. So, and some of the times when we published this knowledge, a new innovation, we had a new product, I thought it deserved to come out to the broader market. So one or two initiatives, Spora, which is our innovation center for food, and harness and taking the creativity for restaurants and chefs like myself, like how can you take this creativity and put it into a company that could look at it and say, okay, if this is sustainable, if it's scalable, then let's get it out in the market.
And you did one with, for example, rapeseed oil cake waste, right, from when they press the oil, and
exactly.
Tell me
So we had the one product that led to it was actually Neurospora intermedia, which is a fungi strain that you use on fermenting ontom in Indonesia. So it's kind of like a tempe from Indonesia, and this orange fungi we had a collaboration with Berkeley University, and over like the year we found out we made a dish in the restaurant that tasted very sweet, and suddenly we found out that this is a very unique enzyme that's in the Neurospora intermedia, which is creating this sweetness. So imagine if you could create sugar flavors without having any pikes in your blood sugar, and also with just a natural fermentation for a couple of days. So that was kind of what led into and saying, okay, we need to do this more serious. We need to hire people from the industry as well. So Mette, my CEO, that's also here today, have a former background, 14 years in Novo Nordisk in Denmark, coming more from the commercial side in biotech, and how can we take that and how can we secure some of the IPs and some of the knowledge as well we're creating in that. One of the big projects we're working on now, we have two things that we're working on. There's the bigger projects. It's like the rapeseed press cake. So when you have canola oil, you press the seeds, and then you have the seeds as a side stream. Today, 99% of that side stream is used for animal feed, but the only animals that can take it in is a cow. So it's feed it to cows, and instead of putting all the feed into them, could we make this into a protein for human feed instead? And that's what we have done. We have made a technology that for me tastes amazing, and I'm of course very biased, but I think it's the best alternative to meat I've tasted. It's very interesting as well because it's only 5 ingredients. And what is the most exciting thing about this is that we have, on paper, we can cover the protein needs for around 800 million people's life. So it's quite crazy to think about that 50% of the protein that we grow in Europe is this crop. We don't use the protein, we only use the oil. And
how do you eat it? What does it
the
taste
crazy
like?
thing.
Is it like
it tastes really good. It's like
the Impossible Burger style stuff? Or
no,
what are we talking
it's and I think that's important as well. We're not trying to mimicking meat in that way. We want to have a product by its own, something that can stand alone, have a price point that's compatible, but also something where you buy it because this is this is tasting good. It caramelizes very well. Is in the family with rapeseed, not rapeseed, with mustard. So it has kind of this mustard umami flavors. As I said, 5 ingredients. So it's quite interesting if we could get that up in scale.
Now, the chocolate. You may start to eat your chocolate, although I'm looking at you
in one
second
bite,
row.
one bite.
Okay, tell us about the chocolate, because what they're eating is not chocolate.
No, it's not a chocolate. It's non-chocolate. So it's one of our projects we're doing as well with the spent brewer's grain. So when you produce beers, the leftover side stream from that is which is also used for animal feed today. There's around 40 million tons of that. So it could be interesting to turn that into food. We have done several things like pastas and noodles and so on. And here there's a chocolate, especially because there is a big pressure on our chocolate industry, and it doesn't seem like we will crave less of this in the future, increasing prices with 300% and so on. So how could we maybe make an alternative that's also closer to ourselves? And it also seems like we're not stopping drinking beers in the near future as well. Right. So if we could turn that into something that's delicious, and it's not to say we don't need chocolate in the world anymore. I think in a very diverse diet as well, and I think in a balance on everything. And this is, I would say, you could fool me. I think it's very good in texture and have to snap, and we worked very much on getting the mouth feeling right. But it's completely plant-based, made of the spent spirit grain.
Right. What do we think? Marion Nessel, I see you there. You'll always tell us the truth. Surprisingly good. Quote. What is inside it?
35 different ingredients. Butterfly. No, it's the spent brewer's grains, and then it's, of course, sugar and fats and the plant-based fats.
And so even the interior is the same. The ganache that you do inside is the same material.
Yeah, this one is filled with a little bit of salted caramel inside.
Oh, salted caramel. There you go. That makes anything delicious. We're going to have time for a couple more questions, but I want to break a little news because this is the most exciting thing I thought coming out. You are able to make food out of air, to be more general.
Yeah.
But you're taking CO2. I know he's like Rumpelstiltskin here. CO2 and acetate to turn into a protein, and this is huge. And you've got huge backing from Gates Foundation, I think Novo Nordisk Foundation. You've got a lot of money behind this, so this is not just some crazy chef in Copenhagen idea.
No.
Tell us how this works. How are you making protein from CO2?
So this is a consortium that started like 2 years ago. Novo Nordisk Foundation in Denmark, and probably know it for the Ozempic thing. That's very popular.
That's right.
Right
The
now.
people who didn't eat their chocolate are all on the Ozempic. You can
On
pass
that
it forward. Okay.
Yeah, and Gates Foundation went together with several universities and Novo Nordisk in Copenhagen as well to see if they could create a protein scale that's made of CO2 from the industry. So could you capture the CO2 and make that as a feed for a microorganism, which is feeded in acetate, and make that into protein. And that they succeed with that in small scale, and also they mean that they can do it in bigger scale. So now we are joining the consortium, just to actually break the news today. And we're going to, the next 2 years, figure out what people would like to eat in the world. Where we can get this in as a new food, and making food prototypes the next couple of years.
So the CO2 turns into acetate, right? Which is what's in vinegars.
Yes, exactly.
And that's through a chemical process, right? Becomes acetate,
chemical.
and then that becomes protein.
Exactly.
And what does that look like or taste like? What is that ultimately, or is it just kind of a beginning medium that you work with?
Yeah, it's a beginning medium, and I think that's the amazing thing with this project here, which is really what we want to do with Spora. I believe that we need to work with some of the biggest companies out there if we really want to have an impact in the world. I think there's a lot of things is working the way that they're designed in our food industry, producing a lot of foods. But we have not, when we designed it, we didn't have maybe all of the things in the considerations that we know today regarding our climate and the world that we're living in. And we need to kind of swift that design. And I mean, the rapeseed cake is a good example of something where we can feed nearly 1 billion people on taking the side stream and make it into human food. But there's also a need for radical new solutions like this acetate to food projects, which seems quite crazy to take CO2 from the industry and then turn it into a protein source. But it's quite a natural fermentation technology, having these microbes living on acetate. So it's for me, it's very interesting as a chef to take that protein powder it will end up being, and then we need to find out how do we make this delicious and how do we make this into food that people actually want to eat. Because I think there's too many food engineer companies that's driven by technology, led by the market, the capital, like the money that's out there in the horizon, but it's not led by gastronomy, taste, mouth feelings, and textures. And it's just, I mean, there's food enough for the planet if everybody wants to shift the diet tomorrow. So if everybody's just started to eat in the way we're supposed to eat like from the report, we could feed everybody, and we could feed up to around 10 billion people. But that's not just that easy. We don't change our habits that much. We're going back, and especially with food, it's a very cultural thing. And when I try to push people to eat from a silicone tongue in Alchemist and tongue kissing with that, or eating a butterfly or from a lamb skull, or like people is like distant to that as well, because that's a new thing and new experience. So I think we need to have these new solutions, but they need also be framed in a way that is something that talk into our culture and to the world we're living in.
All right, great. Well, we actually have like 40 seconds left. Does someone have one quick question? This is terrible to leave you only with 40 seconds. Because I will say one thing. Oh, do you have one?
Yeah, I can jump in.
Quick.
My question. Sorry. Hold on 1 second. We're going to need to go ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much. My question for you is, a lot of what you're talking about kind of looks like a vision of the future of food. And I was kind of wondering, how does the past, the history of food, kind of the cultural connotations around food that you're talking about factor into your vision for the future?
It's a great question. Food is culture, right? It's what keeps us together and holds us through generations. How do you look back?
I think like we trying to like example. I think the chocolate here, non-chocolate, is a good example of something that is like easy to understand. It's something that you can tap into directly and understand. But there is also the industry need to realize that we need some of these new solutions as well. We had a meeting with a huge chocolate company not long ago, looking at this chocolate and say, this is very futuristic. This is like maybe in 10, 15 years. And I'm like, no, it's just right here in front of you. And if it's driven by flavors and mouth feelings and textures, I think people would like to eat it. My mother is the most terrible chef in the whole universe. She's really bad. And I lived with like 5 dishes when I was a kid, and all of them was overcooked and with potatoes. And I mean, and her favorite dish to eat these days is like running sushi in this little city in Randers. And we have never got fish in my life, but she liked it because there's this deep fried shrimp with chili mayo. And I mean, that's also tastes really good. Like it's not so. It's just to say that even the most radical conservative people and especially within our diet, I think can be changed the habits of that through flavors and textures.
Right, and also to your point, we tend to romanticize and nostalgicize our past when we're eating the same 5 crappy dishes with potatoes. But anyway, I hope your mother doesn't hear this session.
No, she will not.
I think we're out of time, but thank you all very much. Rasmus, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Give them another round of applause. That was a great session. So interesting. I love Kim Severson, and now that I've met Rasmus, I'm in love. He's great. I'm going to get quickly into the next session. In this conversation, we're going to talk about how media, brands, and cultural shifts are changing the future of food. And so I have some really great panelists. I have Turow-Paul, the founder and executive director of the Food for Climate League. Give her a round of applause. Chitra Agrawal, the co-founder and CEO of Brooklyn Deli and the author of Vibrant India. Give her a round of applause. Longtime friend of Food Tank, Rachel Krupa, the CEO and founder of the Goods Mart and Krupa Consulting. Give her a round of applause. And Drew Mitchell, the Senior Vice President of Brand Purpose at Edelman and the U.S. lead for Edelman's Gen Z Lab. That's a mouthful. Give him a round of applause. Before we start, I want to thank just a few more in-kind partners, Impossible, Simply, and Wild About Sprouts. So thanks to all of them. Yes, round of applause. Let's keep the energy up. I appreciate it. So I want to start with a question for all of you. All of you are looking at trends, food trends in different ways. And I want to start by talking about what you're hearing from eaters. What are they telling you? Eve is smiling, so I'm going to go with her.
What are we hearing from people is they want global flavors. They do want plant-rich foods. Often they want whole plant-rich foods, beans, pulses, legumes. But there's often this idea that people are just really hungry for their double quarter pounder burger. And that is not what we hear. We are constantly doing eater insights. And for many of the locations that we do it with, when it's a client project, Food for Climate League does some kind of client consulting and services, we have not heard that one time.
Really?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
there's many more things I could add, but I'm sure that other people have seen something similar.
From our customers, we're hearing that people are not wanting to eat as much meat. They're still eating meat, but they want to understand how they can add other plant-based proteins to their meals. And they are interested in global flavors. And, we provide Indian flavors, but a lot of people don't have the expertise to make Indian food. They don't have the time to make it. And so they're trying to figure out how they can make Indian food quicker and more convenient for themselves.
I'm wondering why they say they don't want to eat more meat, or they want to eat less meat, is how you phrased it, I think. Why are they telling you? What are the reasons they're telling you that?
I think that it's just, generally I feel like people are thinking that if you're eating more meat, it's just not as healthful for them. And so they're trying to look for ways that they can still eat protein, but not be, more plant-based.
Got it. Rachel?
I think people really want things that taste good. And I think that they want things that are a little bit nostalgic now more than ever. So I think tasty is number one. I think more clean labels, because they want to actually understand what they're putting inside their body. But on our side, just because of like the convenience store, we're seeing a little bit more meat in the sense of jerkies and meat sticks and people looking for tallow chips and things like that. So again, I think it's more from a standpoint of like a clean single source of an ingredient versus a lot of things that are in a package that they don't know what it is, but it has to taste great and deliver something, because I think we've been pushed so much lately on it's going to make you feel this way, but it doesn't. So now like the false advertising of that, people are a little bit apprehensive of like what they're doing. So they want to know.
Right. I feel like a lot of folks, maybe 5 or 10 years ago would look at a clean label, as you mentioned it, and think that is not tasty. I don't want that at all. So that's really shifted.
Thank you.
Do you want to comment on how, like, that shift in what you've seen?
I think that it's just more of it. Again, I think it's clean because we've been educated a lot more on the type of oils. I think the rise of social media and TikTok and trends, people are trying things differently. And I think that because the innovation around ingredients is there for a taste, I think the healthy, it's too granola-y, I think it's now gone. I think the standard process is, I need this to taste great. And I think the way that more people are, if it doesn't taste great, it's like, is it a stevia bomb or a monk fruit bomb or something along those lines? But I think there's also a conversation around, again, ingredients people know, but they want it to be taste good if the package looks good.
Sure.
Can I just add
of course.
to this really quick? What we're seeing is really two different things. One is this just desire for something joyful. The world is a lot right now. Yeah. And people are looking to food for joy. So global flavors in many ways is nostalgic. It is joyful. It is traveling without getting on the airplane for many people. The other thing we're seeing is an abundance of fear and extremely high levels of anxiety and fear of food. And to me, when you ask that question about simple like labels, I feel like that's a lot of it. It's just like the world feels so out of control. I want to understand what it is that I'm putting into my body.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Drew.
think also,
go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
I think also people are looking for comfort foods, but they don't want heavy comfort foods, right?
I think there's an element of taking some control back too. People want food that they can express themselves with. Taste, of course, is paramount. Affordability is paramount. But really showing, people want food that they can explore, that they can dig into, that they can really feel like they're putting their own unique spin on it. There was a stat in a recent Pinterest report about how the at-home cafe searches have increased by 6,000%. People who are wanting to build that at-home cafe, they're bringing these outside experiences into their own world where they can take that, they can make it their own. They can put their own unique spin on it. The world is crazy and you can't really control much in your own life, but food for most people is a place where you can still find some joy and your own sense of security.
Yeah, and we heard at the beginning of the summit, about Gen Z and how they think of food really as an extension of themselves, part of their
Absolutely.
personality. So having that unique spin is really part of who they are.
And that's a unique thing about Gen Z across the board. They want to make things their own. They want to find all these different pieces that they see other generations leaving them, and they can pull them in together to make it their own unique perspective. And food is one of the ways they can do it. It's hard for Gen Z. They're cash strapped, they're time strapped, they're in a world where their careers are changing in front of them. Food is this expression, and it's amazing to see so many of them go online into food creator roles too, to really just show the joy that can come from that.
I feel like I've heard that they're also craving nostalgia, and if you could
Even the nostalgia they didn't experience.
Right, exactly. Mine was nostalgia. Can we... Eve,
I think that this is an area that I've been doing research on for a very long time, which is the why behind the rise of foodie culture. And this is even a decade ago, we were already seeing that people were craving simpler times, right? And that was just with the start of like Instagram and the iPhone. Okay, well now we have AI, and there's just such a bombardment of really scary things,
right.
And a future. When you look at anything futuristic, like any video game or any book, like it's not great what people are really painting a picture of for the future. And so can you really imagine growing up in this environment? I mean, it makes sense to me that you want to like celebrate scrunchies and
Absolutely.
like 80s colors, because that seems way more fun than what people are really talking about and surrounded by on a day-to-day basis.
Rachel, the media is shaping a lot of this too, right?
Yep. And I think it's more of also looking at it, there's this increase of celebrityness at the same time. And everyone is talking about food, and food is an affordable luxury that we can all kind of connect and relate with.
Yeah.
It's not a $100,000 handbag or a pair of shoes these days. It's a $5 candy bar, or it's a $2.99 probiotic bubbly drink that everyone is drinking. So I think there is like media is like building that and like sharing that, but I think you also see an increase of like celebrity and like content creator community that is also making it easily to accessible from food, because other industries don't have that because the price point is too high for that Gen Z demographic.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to comment on a few words that I've heard. I want to say what you've said before. The world is a lot. So I think the fear, the control, but also the comfort, the need for nostalgia, the need to explore global flavors, and then sort of what Rachel just said about affordable luxury. Some of these things seem in sort of opposition to one another, and it's very confusing. I wonder if we can unpack that a little bit.
Where do you want to start with that?
I mean, it just seems very contradictory. Like, why we want to explore, but we want to feel safe.
But I think it's exploring with your taste buds. And again, like content creator community that we're living in with social and like just Instagram and TikTok, you're able to connect with people around the world and eat what they're eating. So it is more affordable because you have at your fingertip a global destination and a global like audience in the community that you're learning from.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like also part of like the fear, I think, because we're consuming too much. And like at the same time we're consuming too much, what we can consume at more of a level that is more affordable is food. And you can make it at home, and you could add a twist to it, and you can try it and have people come over and be like, does it taste like what you travel to? But you don't have to buy a plane ticket to go.
And on that point, Chitra, I was wondering if you can talk about how you're partnering with different retailers and companies to help people explore the world, to explore India in a way that they can't, do right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have a partnership with Blue Apron right now, and we sell a very traditional Indian condiment called achar. And the difference is with our achar is that it's 75% less sodium, and but it's not very known to people that are non-South Asian.
Can you just start? Yes.
So I mean, achar, if you've ever had it, sometimes it's called Indian pickle, and it's like spicy and savory and sweet, like all these different flavors all at once. It basically makes everything taste better. here. But when I was beginning Brooklyn Deli, I would be sampling it and people would be like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like I can put it on this, I can put it on that. But then we realized that when it was on like a store shelf, nobody knew what it was. So it was really hard for people to discover that. And so the partnership with Blue Apron has been amazing because the chefs there have really just taken to our flavors and have put them into contexts that are not just Indian. So they'll take the achar and mix it with mayo and put it on a burger. So it's showing you that, you know, you can really take these flavors and not just have them for an Indian night, but you can also use them any day of the week.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think subscription boxes are really expanding people's palates. Eve, can you comment on some other food trends that are helping expand our palates?
Oh, helping to expand our palate. I was going to go to the protein craze, but I don't
can
need
go
to go
in.
there.
No. Go into it, and we can come back to this later. Protein's crazy right now. Protein and like, I don't know, sodas and stuff like that.
Protein's terrifying.
Yeah.
But I was going to connect it to this like dichotomy of wanting to explore and then also feel safe. Mm-hmm. Because we've been really digging into what is behind this protein craze. It doesn't make any sense. No one needs to be eating 150 grams of protein a day unless you are weightlifting for 4 hours, in which case, good for you. But it's really this question of like, well, where is this coming from? And we have been digging into this. And I you know, there is no like smoking gun here of like who has started the protein craze. A lot of this though is coming from this place of like, I don't feel good. I want something that's going to fix me. And there's a lot of influencers out there, both on the vegan side of things and on the animal protein side, who are saying, I have this amazing diet. It includes 150 grams of protein, et cetera. Buy my cookbook, buy my things. This will fix you. And a lot of this is really coming out of people's just search to feel well. Yeah. And in that search to feel well, I think there's also this desire to splurge. I mean, a lot of what, Rachel, you're talking about is grocery flexing. And honestly, like what you provide, it's an opportunity to do grocery flexing because you can take something that's kind of the normal, mundane, and like spruce it up and make something cool. Like you were just saying, this is what everyone wants to do. And so it's like you can hold these two feelings at the same time.
Yeah.
Human beings are very complicated.
They're very complicated. So let's continue with all of you on that sort of note. Do you think that today's food trends, you know, whether it's protein or fiber, align with sustainability and wanting, you know, a better planet? Drew.
I hope so. Not always. I think that there's a lot of work that brands and big companies need to do in order to advance some of these sustainability objectives so that consumers can still get the quality of food that they want and the type of follow the trends that they want, but not feel like they have to be in the driver's seat of everything. Consumers, we as individuals can only do so much in terms of sustainability. It's really, I think, incumbent on the brands and businesses out there to do more, to advance more regenerative practices, to focus on healthy soils, to really be clear in their supply chain about what the work that they do, so that then when consumers are exploring, when they're trying new flavors, when they're doing taking the opportunities that brands are giving them, they can feel good about it.
And Gen Z wants that story,
They do,
right?
yeah. I mean, Gen Z is really struggling right now between wanting the sustainable options, but also being able to afford it. So again, I think that's where big brands have the opportunity to really come in and lead that charge. Because also right now, I was reading a stat, 74% of Gen Z thinks that big food brands are just greedy and out to make money. And so they're not connecting with them in a really meaningful way. So huge opportunity to, one, make sustainability gains, and two, just build trust with these audiences that are still coming online. And there's a real chance to build a real relationship with them.
Right. Rachel, you're working with smaller brands that are usually mission driven.
Yeah, and I think it's something that is basically just like a pillar that you need. It's just like to be more sustainable, but I think it's also at a cost that at the end of the day is the consumer ready to pay for yet. And I think we just did a 150 consumer insight study with Highlight, and one of the major things was like, how do you feel about sustainability? And majority of them were like, yes, I want to pay more for sustainability. But then when it was a product that, say the packaging wasn't sustainable, then they didn't assume it was sustainable. And so we're still in this phase right now that I think the package needs to be the one that leads the conversation, because then they're still unclear of like, what is regenerative? What is upcycled? What are all the words that we know and we love so much, and we know that it tastes and is impactful of not only our health, but the soil health too. But consumers are, again, getting bombarded with everything. I need more protein. I need more fiber. I need more this. And like, now I need sustainable. What is regenerative? What is upcycled? So it's hard. So I think, yes, young brands are trying their hardest, but it's also in today's world with supply chain, like ingredients have never been more expensive. Like, it's just hard.
Yeah, it's
and
very
I think
confusing.
people want it, but it's going to continue to take time. And we're still making good progress. And I think that that's like something we need to celebrate, because otherwise we're doom and gloom.
Absolutely.
But like, let's celebrate the wins we've had and only continue to push it forward and not say they don't like it, because they are. And I think we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah. I want to add on to this, because it really depends on what you're talking about when you say sustainable food. Because I think oftentimes when we say it's sustainable products, people think, oh, it's expensive, it's going to be on a shelf. Okay, rice and beans is sustainable. A peanut butter sandwich is sustainable, right? This doesn't have to be something that is inaccessible to folks. And I think that, so Food for Climate League, we work on narrative change. What's narrative change? Just change the way you talk about this in order to make it more appealing. And oftentimes we find, especially with food service operators, the people who control what food is served, they think it's expensive, nobody wants this. Then you look at the biggest food trends. I just had to lead a training for YouTubers, which was very fun. And I had to look at what were the top trending dishes on YouTube last year. There were no meat dishes. It was dense bean salad. It was this smashed cucumber salad. It was also Travis Kelce's mom's cookies. But I mean, everything there was, in my book, pretty sustainable, right? And I do think that this is a misnomer. Food culture is continuing to bend in a more sustainable direction. Are people going and spending $2 more for a box of something that says regenerative on it? By and large, no. Are they looking for things that help them to feel well, that are celebrating diverse, what Dorothy was talking about, a diversity of flavors, of textures, of colors? Yes, because that's also delightful. It's just not because it's saving the world.
Absolutely. Chitra and Drew, I want to end on what kind of messaging you think is most effective, so that the next time eaters are in the grocery store, they think differently about foods. They think a little bit more carefully without that confusion and fear.
Well, I mean, for us, it's just that since we are an Indian food brand, there's so much ancient wisdom that is baked into the products that we're selling. And I feel like a lot of times when people talk about innovation in the space, it's about food tech and things like that. But I think that we need to start looking inward at what has happened and, you know, what we've learned from the past.
Right. That food is medicine.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew.
I think we've seen a lot of success on messages that are really connected into everything feels personal. We've gone from a world of where brands are trying to change the world to now where brands are really changing a specific part of the world. So leaning on messaging around, of course, like tastes good for me, feels good for my community, good for farmers, those core messages, that's what, you know, sustainability is going to drive everything on its own. You have to have a good category claim first. You have to be a good product, good brand. But then those claims, building on local support, connecting to what matters to people, that's a big multiplier effect in terms of what's going to really make a difference.
Absolutely. We have about 2.5 minutes left. Do you have any quick tips, advice for consumers that you all want to share? Like, you know, just something easy but impactful. Anything come to mind?
Sure. Really easy way to be making your burgers more sustainable. 50% meat, 50% veggies. It's the simplest thing you can do, even with your family members who are like, no, I absolutely have to have a burger. We do this also with turkey burgers. They usually don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. Chitra, you were nodding before.
Oh, I just feel like, you know, if you take one night a week and just make a plant-based meal, maybe it's Indian, I think that makes a huge impact.
Yeah, and it's delicious.
I think there's also a movement towards single serve, and that's just because of COVID, that at home, just get the family style and then put it, family size bags, and then put it into reusable packaging for at home or for in your bag, which things that we've educated on. But I think because we've been in such a shift for this past 5-6 years, that some of it goes back because people are still scared to put their hands in the same bag as everyone else.
That's smart. That's smart. Great.
I get bored with my food, so I try to just make my leftovers something completely different out of it, just to put all kinds of different spins on it to make it as unique as possible, so it feels like a whole new meal.
Nice, and then you put it in your freezer and you have it for later.
Yeah.
What a great panel. Can you give them a round of applause, please? Thank you all so much. Thanks for being here. Thank you all. Continue the applause. It makes everyone feel good. Makes me feel good. Thank you. In this next conversation, I'm excited to talk to Mark Bittman, he needs no introduction, but he's a New York Times bestselling author and the founder of the Bittman Project and Community Kitchen. Please give him a round of applause as he joins us. Hey. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. So
It's great to be here, of course. Somehow I had some other place in mind, but yes, here we are.
Did you go to the wrong place first?
No, I mean, my picture of the stage was, I know, because we were at Chelsea Market last year.
Yeah. Yep. No, this is a different space.
Okay,
We like it.
got it, right. Yes, I've been here.
Community Kitchen just launched. Tell me how it's going. Tell me what it is. Tell the audience what it is, and then tell me how it's going.
Right. During COVID, at the end of COVID, I felt that I had an opportunity. I wanted to stop writing. Not entirely, but I wanted to stop focusing on writing. I wanted to do something, with all due respect to writers. And I had this idea that maybe there was a way to manifest what good food is. And so I set about writing a short description of what good food is. And it's pretty simple. Everybody here knows it. It's well-sourced from responsible farmers. It's food that treats workers well up and down the food chain, which, of course, is largely not the case. It's plant-forward, cooked well, blah, 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 all of that. And then it's accessible to everybody. So those first three things, well-sourced food, workers treated well, well-cooked food, could describe 200 restaurants in the United States, probably, which is not a lot, but they exist.
Right.
And they all cost $200 a person.
Right.
So the fourth thing, accessibility, is the challenge. So how do you do those first three things and combine them with accessibility? And the answer is you give up making money. You don't think about making money because you're not going to make money. So I thought I would start a nonprofit that somehow manifested good food, and decided to do a restaurant. And I thought this was, I was like, I'm going to do 5 this year, and I'm going to do 50 next year. And I had this deck that had literally 10,000 dots on it at the end of 5 years or something. But reality caught up with me, and I had to raise money, which I did successfully, but very slowly.
Congratulations on that. That's a huge
it was
thing.
good. I mean, and it was good. And then I realized I had to build a team, and I was lucky enough to build an amazing team. And about, last winter, the real money, we became pretty confident that we'd have enough money to do a pilot, not 5 restaurants, but a 3-month restaurant. And so that happened, started to happen in January. We started to look for a place, and then in April, it became clear that this was real, and we found a space. We looked at places all over the city. I'd been looking at places I literally went from Worcester to Newark to every single city of any size over the last few years and talked to people, and really a terrific experience. But ultimately, I'm a New Yorker. My team was New Yorkers. Why would we want to do this anywhere else? So we looked at a number of places in the Bronx, Washington Heights, downtown here, and in Brooklyn. And we finally settled on the Lower East Side Girls Club, which is a terrific partner that not only is in a great neighborhood, not only are they great people in a great neighborhood, but they had an unused space that was originally conceived of as a cafe that they really weren't using. So we took it apart, we put it back together again. It's beautiful. We opened last week. Mavis J. Sanders is our chef. I'm sure some of you know her. And she brought with her a guy named Andrea Giannitti, less well known, but an amazing general manager. Ray Gomes is our executive director now. She's fantastic too. It's a sterling team. We're doing all of those things, including serving meals at $15, $45, and $125 same food no matter what you pay. So it is a real sliding scale. And, we've only been open 2 nights. We had 2 nights of friends and family, which was chaos and fun. And then 2 nights of open to the public, which was chaos and not as much fun. So,
Sure.
But we reopened this Wednesday. We're open Wednesday through Saturday. We're trying to do 60 covers a night. We could do more. We could do fewer. The pressure is not really on us to perform as a business, but to demonstrate that we can do all 4 of those things.
Yeah.
And making money is not one of those things.
Sure.
So that's where we're at.
Mark, you've been in food for so long, and as you said, this is a really different experience. I wonder what is the most surprising thing? What's the most irritating thing? What was the thing you didn't, see coming?
Well, I mean, I'm the kind of person who's irritated by my own incapabilities and lack of knowledge. And so I'm easily frustrated when I don't predict what will happen correctly, or I'm wrong about something, or I don't have the experience to do something. And all of those things happened in the course of this project. So, somehow I'd rather answer the question about what I've learned and what I've liked about it, because I didn't know anything about fundraising. I didn't know anything about opening a restaurant. I didn't know anything about hiring people, really. I certainly didn't know the world of nonprofits. And I've learned all of that in the last 4 years. And I don't even know if I'm any good at any of that stuff, but I like steep learning curves, and boy, this was one.
Yeah. Can you talk about who showed up on the second night, who those folks were?
Who
just sort of in general, like who decided to come?
Well, I've said from the beginning we were not going to have trouble filling the expensive seats who wanted to be in the cool new restaurant that was opened by Mark Bittman and his friends. I mean, modesty aside, I've said that from the beginning. And I was right. I mean, there were a lot of, like the last night I went there, which was Saturday, the last night we were open, which was Saturday, there were 30 people sitting there, and 8 of them were my friends. Not just people I knew, but like
friends.
But we do have neighborhood people coming in, and we're working hard at making it so that the majority of people coming in are neighborhood people. And spreading that word was hard before we opened, and now it's becoming easier. And also, we are a presence. I mean, it's 7th Street, for those of you who don't know it, between C and D, is a beautiful block as it happens. There are a lot of long-term residents, and it's also a block that's more or less surrounded by NYCHA housing, which is also long-term residents. So it's a neighborhood of people who know each other and care about each other. We're the newcomers, and also we didn't have much of a storefront. And now we have it. Looks nice, it's open, people see us. We're having much greater success bringing people in. I mean, night by night that changed. So hopefully it'll change more.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Let's talk a little bit about the menu.
Right. The menu is fresh, seasonal, local, eclectic, all the stuff you want it to be, and really, really good.
Well, it's Mavis J.
It's Mavis J. And Mavis J is ambitious, and Mavis J is really smart and really talented.
Fearless.
Fearless is right also. So I haven't memorized the menu because it's too big, but it starts with sort of 3 little tomato dishes. One is blistered, skewered little teeny tiny tomatoes and ground cherries over tomato broth, and then there's another tomato served in a spoon with some butter. I'm just trying to envision this. And then there's the same kind of thing with corn, which is a slice of baby corn, which is grilled and unbelievable. We bought one of those fancy Japanese grills where the charcoal costs $30 a piece, corn broth, and then corn pudding, which people are going crazy over. It's really, really good. And then a sort of salad of monkfish and beans and greens, bread from Brooklyn Granary,
Nice.
butter from Ronnie Brook, that kind of thing. Both really great, of course. And then here's where here's where I sort of get lost. I think there might be another course in there, but then there's a course of lamb riblets and sausage, kind of cassoulet with roasted carrots with yogurt and one other thing. Anyway, it's a lot.
Sounds great. Yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot, and it's really good, and it is all of those things. We're sourcing locally, of course. We're expecting that in 2 weeks there's not going to be any corn. I think there'll be tomatoes for another month because there are now. So she may not change that, but the corn's going to have to turn into squash or beans or something like that. We're not going to do, the monkfish happens to be around now. We're not going to do lamb forever. Things will change, but I think the menu will change every 2 weeks. I mean, the other thing, if this was a innovative, independent, for-profit restaurant, I'm sure we'd be losing money hand over fist, but it would still be interesting because we're doing a fixed menu and not that many places do fixed menus. So it's not prefix it. I guess it is, but it's like everybody gets the same thing. And if you don't eat meat, then you don't eat the meat. And if you don't eat gluten, then you don't eat the bread, and so on.
Can you talk about the servers? The wait staff, when they came in, this is a very different experience, isn't it, for them?
I mean, the day that the staff all came together, so this was me, and then it was me and a bunch of students who sort of came through, and then there was me and an assistant when I had a little money, and then there were 4 of us, and then there were 6 of us, and then there were 8 of us, and then the day the staff came in, there were 20 of us. And I walked into this room, obviously I'm the oldest person in the room. So I'm the oldest person in a lot of rooms I go to now, not this one, but yeah. I walk into this room, everybody's half to a third my age, more or less, and it's as multiracial, multicultural, multi-gendered a space that 20 people can make up, and my heart just leapt with joy. It was so great.
That's great.
And I introduced myself to everybody, and I've spent a little time with everybody since then. And I will say that if we've hired 25 or 30 people in the last 2 years, because a couple people have come and gone, 90% of them have been mission aligned. And we've said that from the beginning. We want to hire people who get what we're doing.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is say, this is actually what restaurants should look like. This is what serving food should look like. That good food is a universal right. We're trying to demonstrate that that's possible. And it is possible if you take profit out of the equation. And all of our servers and all of our kitchen staff are on board with that. They get it. So it's a thrill. It's really great. I've used the words thrill and joy and fulfillment more in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last 10 years. So
that's fantastic.
Really great.
And you look happy. Really I've known you a bit. This is the happiest you've ever looked.
I mean, I'm a little wiped out, but it's really, really good.
Sure. And the thing about the wait staff and the sort of the culture of the restaurant is very different than restaurants 10 or 12 years ago. There's not that toxic masculinity. It's a very different place, right? Than other public sort of restaurants.
I think you're right. I mean, this is the closest I've been. I've worked with chefs, but I've never been in a restaurant. I've never spent day after day after day. I've never helped build a restaurant. I've never helped hire staff. So I never experienced that. I experienced it more 20 and 30 years ago when it was like the chef kind of crazy thing. Now there is really this. People are quite respectful of one another, and I'm trying to think of our staff. Yeah, our staff is more female than male, and very young.
That's great.
And they're with it.
That's great. That's great. Mark, I wonder how you see community kitchen fitting into the larger international public restaurant movement, because this is not just happening here in New York City, it's happening in a lot of places.
Right. We're very early on, and I mean, when I wrote Animal Vegetable Junk, which I kind of thought was still think is probably the last really important book that I will write. I traveled around the world, and the two most inspiring things were this Sikh temple in New Delhi that I've been to 3 or 4 times now. Every Sikh temple does this, which is that they do communal food service for everybody. Anyone can come in, they serve food all day long, they get volunteers to cook, they pay people to cook. Somehow it has a different flavor than our soup kitchens. It's much more joyful. The food is a lot better.
Sure.
It's cooked on the spot. I mean, it's very simple. It's usually chapatis and dal and rice and whatever vegetable there is, but it's really, really good in it. So there's that. And then in Brazil, there are these popular restaurants that all of us have written about and talked about. And there is this system in Brazil of farmers being subsidized to grow organic food and good food to sell at farmers markets, to sell to schools, to sell to consumers, to provide to these popular restaurants. I was also in Cuba, where there are these kind of slightly hilarious state-run restaurants where the food is not really good, but they're very dignified and the food is cheap, and that's kind of interesting. Right. And so then early on in this process, I talked to some of those people, but also I met some people at a thing called Nourish Scotland, which is starting a public restaurant movement. Talked to a woman from Poland, where there are holders from the communist era called milk bars, but there are a lot of them, and there are places where you can get good food cheap. Turns out there were public restaurants started by Winston Churchill in Britain until 1970.
Wow.
Places where anyone could go and eat inexpensively. So, and now there's a Mexico City public restaurant thing and a thing in Istanbul, and I'm probably leaving out a couple, Amsterdam or Rotterdam, probably leaving out a couple of other places, but we formed a very loose coalition of, we're now meeting every month, telling our stories to each other, and every other month we're going to start having someone's going to do a little lecture. So there's this very loose coalition of people who are working on this, and I think, someday, 2 years, 3 years from now, we'll have a conference. But there is a movement.
It's growing.
And it's all based on the same thing, that good food is a universal right, that nourishing food is a universal right, that you need to, if you want to source food that's great, if you want to treat workers with respect, if you want to cook great food and make it widely accessible, that has to be a nonprofit. And since, in the United States at least, the state is not going to step up, and the for-profit world is certainly not going to make this happen, it's incumbent on us to form nonprofits that do this. And I felt like, to go back to the beginning, I felt like I had the opportunity to do that, and it would have been irresponsible. It's ridiculous. But I would have felt bad if I hadn't tried to do this. And, to sort of succeed, to bring it to life, that is succeeding, is really, it's quite fabulous.
Yeah, I love that you felt that responsibility and it's come to fruition. What do you want to leave the audience with? I know you want them to go to Community Kitchen, but what message do you want to leave this audience with in the next 30 seconds? Sorry.
I would say, when I first went public with Community Kitchen, people would come up to me, and still happen, to say, we want to do this in blah, blah. I can't remember. There was a town in Vermont. We want to do this in Omaha. We want to do this in San Jose. We want to do this. And I would say, go do it. I think it's actually in a way harder to raise money in New York than it is in other places, because there's so much demand for nonprofit, for foundation money here, that I think that doing a community kitchen in a place like Omaha or Brattleboro or just whatever the list is might be easier, that it can start and that it can have impetus. And even if we only last for 3 months, which I don't think will happen, I think we will continue, but we're doing a 3-month pilot. And if we end at the end of the 3-month pilot, I will have gotten to talk about this with thousands, millions of people.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing.
It is the cool thing. Congratulations.
Thank
Please
you.
give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Mark. So nice to see you. Thank you. Go to Community Kitchen, everyone. Make your reservations. I'm sure it's hard right now. So in this next session, I'm excited that we're able to hear from a Philadelphia-based farmer who I'm kind of obsessed with. I interviewed her recently, and she's so cool. Christa Barfield, the owner and founder of FarmerJawn. Please give her a round of applause.
All right, thank you. Yes, my name is Christa, and it is spelled Christ with an A. This is a little name trick my mother gave me so that people would stop spelling my name with a K or calling me Christina, and it has not worked. I am an 80s baby, but raised in the 90s. Anyone else out there? Okay, millennials, I see you. Yeah, so I grew up in inner city Philadelphia, and I love science, complete science nerd. I even won some science fairs at Penn State, and I also went to a science high school in North Philadelphia, and right by Temple University. So if anybody's familiar with Temple University, you know it doesn't get more inner city than that. So upon being there in Philly, I also was a Girl Scout. And while being a Girl Scout, I also won the Gold Award. And if you're familiar with the Gold Award, it is the highest award you can get as a Girl Scout. And you get it from doing an amazing, impactful projects for your community. So I've always lived a life of service in some form. And now I live my life in service to soil. And there's a reason for that. So fast forward to the 2010s, I'm working in Center City, Philadelphia, a tall building, a medical practice, doing administration. I have the best doctors in the world that I work for. I love my coworkers, and I even have my own parking spot in Center City. So that's the bonus. That parking spot I'm able to use, yes, when I'm at work, but also when I'm not. So just awesome. And, you know, January 2nd, 2018, I walk into work that day, and I sit down on my computer, just a normal day, new year, excited for all that I'm going to accomplish with my team. And I sit down, open my emails, and I read a raggedy email from my boss. Upon reading that email, I immediately started a new email thread titled Resignation. So January 2nd, I resigned from my job. January 19th, I just so happened to turn 30. And January 22nd, I'm on a plane to Martinique all by myself, first time out of the country. And when I touch down in Martinique, I have the amazing opportunity to stay at an Airbnb with a swimming pool. My standards for where I was going to stay were very low, that's all I needed. And I had the opportunity to stay in La Montagne, which I met Tawich and Alan. These two Airbnb hosts were excellent. They made me breakfast and meals throughout the day, and they made me cups of tea every single morning. I watched Tawich take herbs that he picked right from his garden, put them in a cup, pour hot water over them, and that was tea, something new for me. I went to another part of the island later, Montrouge, and while there, I met the Cadas family. And Papa Cadas, he made me a coconut cocktail, also coconuts from his own garden. And then he also said, you know, I know you're here by yourself. I'd love to invite my son to take you around the island. So I'm like, I'd love to invite him too. So he takes me, here I meet AJ. He takes me around the island the next day. We're traveling, having a good time, eating good food, seeing great sights. And then he says, okay, I have to go to work now. So you're welcome to come with, or I can take you back to the house. So I'm like, oh no, I'm staying. Like, we rocking out all day. So we go to work. Mind you, I have no idea where work actually is. I didn't ask. But we arrive to a beachfront property where I see his multicultural team taking fruits and vegetables and herbs and packing them in boxes. And then I see them putting these envelopes on top. And the magic of that moment was that I had the opportunity to see multicultural people coming to pick up these boxes, dropping 20 euros in each envelope, and saying, "A bientôt." And I was like, wow. So they're going to come back? they're taking food from these black farmers here. Wow, that's so amazing. And mind you, I just quit my job, I'm broke, and I just traveled out of the country for the first time. Great millennial move. And so upon being there and seeing that, I am amazed. So I come home after only being on that island for 5 days, and I am refreshed, I'm reinvigorated, and I am going to be a farmer. I'm going to start a tea company, and I'm going to start a farm. And now here we are 7 years later, and we are on 128 acres and finally eligible for our regenerative organic certification. So you see, I've spent 1/5 of my life now as a farmer and an entrepreneur, things that I never ever imagined. Okay, so now you know a little bit about me. Now I need to tell you more about the why. So I need your help with this part. I need you to really get engaged here. So when I say, I need y'all really to help me out with this part. So when I say, is it worth it? You're going to say, agriculture is the culture. Okay, let's practice. Is it worth it? Agriculture is the culture. Okay, I feel good about that. We don't got to do that again. Y'all great. Okay, so Christa, you know, last year you won a James Beard Award. You were, for your work in food systems and making sure people understand the importance of knowing where your food comes from. Oh my gosh, you're so great. You're really doing it. Yeah. You know, what you may not have seen is that in the same time we won that James Beard Award, only a couple months later, on our barn we found an 8-foot swastika that was painted there. In addition to that, we realized that our safety, a little compromised, and we also recognized that the uninvited guests on the farm every night weren't just the high population of deer. Is it worth it? Agriculture is the culture. Yeah, I mean, Christa, but you're really doing it. You know, you paying your full-time American team $50,000 to $80,000 a year, even in the off season. I mean, you're showing this industry that you can pay farmers living wage. Yeah, I mean, that's great and really beautiful. I love taking care of my team. But what you didn't see is that over the years, how I've been housing insecure because I was focusing all my dollars into my team, reinvesting into the business so that we could grow. That was a sacrifice that I made to go last. I mean, is it worth it? Agriculture is the culture. Yes, it is. I mean, you know, I remember we saw you, Philadelphia Magazine, a really great publication. They said that you were really making waves and really focusing on wellness of people and reconnecting people back to soil, reincarnating your healthcare career through agriculture. That's really dope. It is. I mean, I think we're doing a good job, but what you didn't see, or maybe you didn't pay attention to it, was the fires, the wildfires from Canada. Our team was actually farming through that smoke all the way in Pennsylvania with N95 masks. The wildfires in LA, the urban heat islands that are being created, the flooding, the native bees that are almost extinct. I mean, the list really does go on. And so, yes, we're working so hard. We're growing food regeneratively. We're focusing on organic practices, not using chemicals. But at the end of the day, is it worth it? Agriculture is the culture. And so what agriculture is the culture really means is take a moment to really focus on the clothes that you're wearing, the houses that you live in, the tables that you're eating on, your food, your beverages, that whiskey and tequila that you love. All of that is due and because of a farmer or a steward of land somewhere, somehow. And so when I stop and I really think and I focus on all the things that seem so wrong in the world, wrong in life, I continue to push forward because the only answer to the question, is it worth it? It is. Thank you.
It's wonderful. Holy shit. Okay. I still have to keep going. Thank you, Christa. Give her another round of applause, everyone. Rub off the chills I still have. In this next conversation, I am honored to be able to sit down with Congressmember Jennifer McClellan, who represents Virginia's 4th Congressional District. Please give her a warm welcome. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We are very honored to have several members of Congress joining us this week, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to dig right into it and ask you about some actions by the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. They recently announced that they want to end a program that requires large polluters to report their greenhouse gas emissions. And the agency's administrator, Lee Zeldin, calls the program nothing more than bureaucratic red tape. And I'd love to hear how you would respond to the administrator.
Well, everything that they call administrative red tape was put in place to solve a problem. And people cannot, I grew up in the 70s in the middle of not only an energy crisis, but back when rivers were on fire, when you couldn't breathe the air. And everybody wants to do the right thing to reduce emissions and to protect our planet. But the first way to do that is to collect the data and respond to the data, and where necessary, adjust behavior. And this is a larger pattern of the current administration, not just on environmental issues, but across the board, to eliminate the data. And it's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
And I and other members of Congress are really pushing back, and we need people to help us.
A lot of courage is needed right now, and I wonder how you and your fellow legislators are coming together to have that courage, because it's scary. I think a lot of people are very scared right now.
It is a scary time, and I think I'm a history nerd, and the history of our country has been, how do we both reconcile the ideals upon which our country was founded and the reality upon which it was founded, and how do we make those ideals true for everybody? And we've made tremendous progress, but every time there's progress, there's a backlash.
Right.
And we are in the backlash, but the first step is to realize, number one, we're in the backlash, but number two, we've always come out of the backlash. And if we stay focused, if we, I guess I'm following sort of 4 mantras this year to get me through. Number one, put your own mask on first.
Yep.
Because if you are not taking care of yourself and feeling what you feel and acknowledge it, then you can't do anything to protect our environment, to protect public health, to protect our democracy.
Right.
Number two, focus on what you can control and try to let go of the rest. Now, the second part is hard, but I think all of us, there's enough within our control to at least fill our day.
Right.
And then you take that first step, and then you keep going. Celebrate, get some joy in there and celebrate the victories, and then recognize you got to fight to protect them.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, in this very scary moment for our country, we need to acknowledge that, but we also need to say it's been worse. But it won't be as bad this time if we all resolve to move forward.
Yeah, it's really good advice. I interviewed my Senator Also Brooks several months ago, and she recognized that need for self-care, and I think that's important. But what I worry about, Congressmember, is that when President Trump signed the big one big beautiful bill into law. I hate saying that.
I
The,
call- yeah,
the bill shifts more costs from Medicaid and SNAP programs to states. People are going to suffer. They can't practice self-care like I can or you can.
Yeah, I call it the big ugly bill, and it does so much more than that. People forget Medicaid is popular. The Affordable Care Act is popular because everyone wants access to health insurance, and to know if you get sick, you can get the care you need without going bankrupt, or you can get the preventative care you need not to get sick in the first place. Food assistance is popular. And so the more people hear about this bill, the more they begin to push back against it, which is, my colleagues that voted for it are now starting to see, that probably was a mistake.
Yeah.
And so I go back to what I just said a minute ago about how it's up to each one of us and how members of Congress, we need the people's help, because in a government by, of, and for the people, government will only reflect the perspective of and therefore meet the needs of the people who participate. And the more people who are upset by these cuts make their voices heard, it may feel like you're just shouting into the wilderness, but it is starting to have an impact. And making sure that you are telling your stories about how these policies will impact you and your communities. And then for us, making sure that we are amplifying those stories is critically important. But it's, over 15 million people could lose access to their health insurance. But they're still going to get sick.
Yeah.
And when they get sick and show up in the hospital, they're going to get care. And oftentimes they're going to show up when it's more expensive or in some cases too late to treat. We all pay for that. As our insurance premiums, as our cost of care goes up, and as more and more providers who are already operating on the margins, especially in rural communities, close their doors. And in many of these areas, they're the largest employer. And then that begins a cycle. Oh, by the way, this is the same population of people who are going to lose their Medicaid who are on food assistance. So you're going to lose your food assistance, you're going to lose your Medicaid. And some of the funding bills that we're debating right now, they could lose their rental or housing assistance.
Right.
And so I go back, look, I'm a preacher's daughter. And so I go back and I kept thinking throughout the debate, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was, homeless, you housed me. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me. And that's not what that bill does.
Yeah.
But we have got to stay focused as a society on saying we want to care for the least of these, because we understand caring for the least of these is how we care for ourselves and each other.
Sure.
And we just can't give up on pushing to undo these cuts.
Yeah, we can't give up, but at the same time, the Make America Healthy Again folks are say they want to prioritize children's health, yet they're cutting vaccines, they're cutting SNAP. It's really hard to respond to that. And I know you want the stories from citizens so that Congress can share those stories, among themselves. But what are we supposed to do when all of these cuts are happening and we don't have a lot of power anymore?
You ultimately do. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it's raising your voice and speaking to your elected representatives at all levels of government, not just Congress, because the decisions that Congress make impacts your state and your local elected officials. So making your voice heard at the ballot box, making your voices heard at the public hearings, when they're debating these bills, is important, because what I have seen, this president loses quietly. He retreats quietly, but he does lose in court, and he does retreat when he gets enough pressure. And I think, I'm also a child of parents who lived through the civil rights movement. When moments are at their darkest, if you give up and say, well, I'm powerless, there is no hope, then you are lost. And when my parents grew up during the Depression under the tyranny of Jim Crow, there were many times when they could have said, I have no power, I give up. But they and their communities pushed forward and said, I do have power, because the promises of our foundational documents that created this government were based on the idea that power of government derives from the people. So the people have to use that power, and they can't give it up. And there are many different ways that you can do it, but the first step is to vote. Even if you're like, there are a lot of people who say, I don't like these candidates, so I'm not going to vote. You're not voting just for a candidate. You're voting for who are they going to appoint to positions, who's going to set the agenda. And it doesn't end with voting, because you have got to make sure that your elected officials know how what they're doing will impact your life. And then part of it is on us as your representatives to very clearly explain, here is what your government is doing and why, and empowering you to be able to speak up by knowing what we're doing. And I know that all sounds impossible in this moment, but this conversation right now and the fact that all of these people are in this room shows that you haven't given up yet. And I just, dig in, focus on what you can control, focus on where you can use your voice, where you can use your power. And if enough people do that, I think we will come through this.
Yeah, it's good advice to say it doesn't end with voting. That has to be something all of us as citizens, really take on. Soon our country is going to celebrate its 250th anniversary. And you said this could either be a celebration or a wake. How can we make it a celebration?
Speak up. I talked about it a little bit, but when the very foundation of a free society is under attack, and that's free speech and free press, the right to vote, the right to assembly. If you are complicit, if you are silent, then you are also complicit in the erosion of liberty. And so I think it is important to speak up, to use your voice, and to use your power. Because, again, the power of government is derived from the people. And if we just refuse to use our power and sit back and say, I don't like what's happening, what's happening doesn't affect me. It may not affect you in the moment, but it ultimately will affect you because again, the loss of free speech, the loss of a free press, ultimately will lead to the destruction of our republic.
Right. You mentioned the importance of joy before and keeping that alive. I wonder what the ways you're doing that in your personal life and your professional life.
Well, I learned how to meditate last year. That helps. Nice. I have young kids. I have a 15-year-old son, a 10-year-old daughter, and when COVID hit, my daughter thought she was going to be a YouTube star. And she recorded a video on my phone where she talked about how hard COVID was and she couldn't play with her friends. But she ended with get some joy in there.
Yeah.
And so for me, sometimes that joy is in my kids. Sometimes it's, binge watching, I don't know, Bridgerton or some, whatever show that just gets me out of the moment. But frankly, a lot of times what brings me joy is putting my phone down and going out and touching grass and not allowing an algorithm that feeds and thrives off of people hating each other.
Right, and fear.
I just don't participate in going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I think when you going back to sort of the principles of my faith, like I try to root everything in love. And if I find myself hating something or hating someone, I just walk away and focus my attention on what is it that brings me joy, what is it that sort of lights that spark that
Mm-hmm.
then allows me to look at that person and say, you know what? Even you I love. And that's a hard thing to do. But, you know, as Dr. King said, I choose love because hate is too great a burden to bear. And physically and emotionally and spiritually, rooting myself in love, starting with, you know, just love of myself and taking care of myself, allows me to stay focused on doing work for communities that I love.
Right.
And helps me move forward.
Yeah, rejecting hate, rejecting violence. That's so important right now. Thank you, Congressmember.
you.
What a delight to talk
Thank
to you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you again. Before we continue with the program, I need to thank a few more of our in-kind partners: Kiss the Ground and Buena Vita Coffee, Lundberg Family Farms, Kerry Dairy Ireland, Farmer's Fridge, and Certified Origins. In this next conversation, I'm excited and intimidated to sit down with David Gellis, a reporter on the New York Times climate team and the author of several books, including his latest, Dirtbag Billionaire, How Yvon Chouinard Built Patagonia, Made a Fortune, and Gave It All Away, which just came out this month. Give him a round of applause. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, I'm intimidated to talk with Danny. You're a legend.
No.
And I brought you a copy.
Oh, thank you. Is it signed?
It's signed.
Yay. I'm so excited. Thank you. I love David Gellis. I last saw you at COP.
Yeah.
And, you know, things have changed dramatically since then.
Really?
You want to talk a little bit about it?
Things have changed dramatically. I mean, I'm preparing to go to COP in just a month and a half.
Yep.
And it's just astonishing to think that whereas last year we were in Baku, Azerbaijan, maybe an unlikely place, but we had a United States delegation that was trying to establish a leadership position when it comes to international climate diplomacy.
Yeah.
This year, we don't even know if the United States government is showing up, period.
Yeah.
And so that's the international perspective. I think that's top of mind for myself and my colleagues on a week like this when we are hosting the world in our city.
Right.
But then you need only look at all the other policy changes, which we've been covering extensively in the paper all year, to see that the whiplash from a policy perspective when it comes to how the federal government is addressing the ability to monitor and respond to climate change and what industries and technologies they are supporting, it's night and day. And I'm not sitting up here saying like one's better than the other. That's not my role at the New York Times. What I can say is from the CEOs I talk to in the business world, from the academics I talk to, from the world leaders I talk to. In the New York Times Magazine that just came out yesterday, I speak with 6 world leaders about climate change and how they are still trying to lead with the U.S. in retreat. Everyone is just baffled, and they don't understand not only the choices that this administration is making in many places because they are out of line with the scientific consensus over and over again, but they don't understand how the United States can keep moving forward as a world leader, as a world power, when it seems like every 4 years our policies are changing. And so that's like just a taste of what we're thinking about this week.
Yeah, it's incredible. I wonder how you report on these issues when we're dealing with folks who don't believe in facts, who don't believe in science. It has to be so difficult. It's difficult for me, and I'm, nowhere in the same position as you.
Well, I guess I want to challenge the framing a little. I don't know that they don't believe in facts or that they don't believe in science. I mean, if you look at the Department of Energy, they put out a report on climate science recently. It was written by a handful of authors who are widely understood to be outside the scientific mainstream, but that doesn't mean that they weren't using facts. I think what is making some of the traditional critiques of some of these policies much more challenging right now is you actually have an administration that is putting forward what it says is a legitimate set of facts, but they are outside the mainstream scientific consensus. And so that's very different than coming at it from a purely like ideological standpoint. They are actually having arguments on the merits of facts. Now we can debate the facts, but they would say that our facts or your facts or their critics' facts are mistaken.
Yeah,
and which makes it more challenging
Right.
for many people.
Right. It's such a conundrum. I'm going to stop this part of the conversation now because
Uh-oh.
what we really want to talk about is this book. And I want to know why you decided to write this now.
Yeah.
Why was it so important to get this out?
Yeah, well, I honestly thank you very much, and thank you all for being here, and thanks for like putting on this amazing event. I've just honest plug in the back newsroom. I was with my current and previous colleagues, Kim Severson and Mark Bittman, and I swear to God, everyone was saying like, this is the last place conversations like this are really happening when it comes to food. So kudos to you and the team. It's like a real important convening space. So
Thank you
give
so
it up.
much. Thank you.
The reason, I mean, I can talk about why I wrote the book, but I will say I could not feel like it's timed more perfectly right now. And we are in a intense moment for a lot of people. A lot of people are scared. I just mentioned the policy whiplash. But against that backdrop, to be able to still foreground positive stories, stories that show that corporations and the system that we live in can be a force for good, and that like mission-driven and values-led actors can make a difference and sort of bend the universe into a shape that they believe is more equitable for all. We cannot lose sight of those stories. And I actually talk about this in the introduction. I say, without stories of hope, we sort of sacrifice the possibility of positive change in the world. So we have to keep telling these kind of stories.
Absolutely.
And the reason I came to this, well, I've written about Patagonia for more than 10 years. I've been the person at the Times who's covered the company extensively for many of those years. During the first Trump administration, the first big story I wrote was when Patagonia actually sued the Trump administration over their efforts to reduce the size of national monuments, including Bears Ears. So I've been sort of writing this story as a reporter for many years. 3 years ago, I broke the news that Yvon Chouinard and his family had given away the company. This radical, confusing act of mainstream big philanthropy. I won't get into you'll fall asleep if I bore you with the corporate governance details, but the upshot is they really did it. They figured out a way to renounce their ownership and divert all of Patagonia's profits, tens of millions, maybe even $100 million a year, to the causes that they have always cared about most: conservation, environmental activism, food, changing food systems. And when I wrote that story, then it was a light bulb moment. And I said, oh, this is my next book. I have to write a big book about this.
So you also write in the introduction that Patagonia's leaders were very keenly aware of their own sort of hypocrisy. Can you talk about that?
Hypocrisy, you call it contradictions, creative tension. It's a paradox. This is really the heart of the book. And it's why it was such an energizing reporting project for me, is because there aren't any easy answers, right? I also say somewhere in there that like a lot of business books try to like make everything seem simple. And like, if you just do this, you'll be able to get ahead. Like this is a Zen koan. There's like none of this makes sense. And that's sort of the point, right? At the end of the day, Chouinard and his team and the Patagonia executives have been really keenly aware that the things that they care about are really in tension, not intention, but in tension with the system in which they operate, which is to say they are running a business that takes a toll on the planet, and they're using those profits to try to save that same planet. They are trying to run an ethical corporation, but they rely on labor from the developing world, using laborers in large, hot factories that toil away for a lot lower wages than what the folks in Ojai and Ventura, California make. They all these things, right? They want to make the best quality products, but sometimes making the best quality products means using ingredients and materials that are toxic. So the process, what I describe in the book, is this 50-year journey of recognizing some of these inconsistencies, and instead of trying to sweep them under the rug, instead of saying we'll get to it later, actually owning up and digging in and trying to do the work to figure it out. And that is so different than every other company I've covered for 20 years as a business reporter.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this idea that you talk about that the company went started going purpose, not going public.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe what that means? It's a little confusing.
Yeah, and I'm like, I include that, but I always get a little wary of like slogans like that.
Sure.
Because like, what does it actually mean?
Yeah.
I think the instead of going public part is really important though. We can talk about their purpose and what they've cared about, but what has allowed Patagonia to act so radically over the years, I would argue, is the fact that they never went public. And more than never going public, they never took any outside investment. And so without those external capital forces in their cap table, right? Without additional shareholders, without private equity or venture capital expecting profit, this team truly had the freedom, and that's really how I've come to think about it. They had the freedom to act in alignment with their values.
Yep.
And now that, like, hardly any company can do this. Let's be
Right,
like, it's
right.
very hard to bootstrap $1 billion revenue business.
Yeah,
We acknowledge as much. And yet, I think people can still learn their lessons here for whether they are companies or organizations. However much freedom and however much independence you can carve out is going to allow you and your teams to make that much more consistent values-aligned decisions when at times you're going to need to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And this is a company that has been willing to sacrifice over the years.
Yeah. David, so many contradictions, and at a time when there's a lot of pushback against being or having billionaires, I wonder how Chouinard felt about being a billionaire.
Yeah, well, he didn't like the title of the book. When he heard the title, Dirtbag Billionaire,
I love it.
I think the feedback I got secondhand, because this is not a man I am in direct touch with, because he does not have a cell phone. He does not have an email address. He does not have a computer, and he never has. I mean, this guy is truly and genuinely off the grid. The feedback I got was he doesn't like the title. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, but that is the title. But he doesn't like the title not because of the word dirtbag. Because the word dirtbag in the climbing community is actually a term of endearment.
Right.
It refers to someone who is so unenamored with materialism that they are like content to sleep in the dirt if it means they're that much closer to their next climb or to their next wave. Instead, what he was really pissed off about was the word billionaire.
Yeah.
Because to your point, Danny, he has never wanted to be a billionaire. He has a bumper sticker on the back of his 1999 Toyota hatchback that we drove around in that says every billionaire is a policy failure. And it was actually the moment in 2017 when Forbes magazine put him on his list of billionaires for the first time that set in motion the process that would ultimately lead to him giving away the company.
Wow.
Because he called it the worst day of his life. He walked around the office fuming. He was so pissed off that he was now regarded as a billionaire because it was completely unaligned with everything he was all about. And he was furious.
Yeah.
And so he set on this journey to ultimately renounce it.
Patagonia is a 501c4.
Patagonia Inc. is still a for-profit corporation. Yeah. Are we going to?
Just a little bit.
Do people want to get into the weeds here?
Just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit.
So can I just briefly try to
Please.
explain what happened when the ownership change happened and
Yes.
how it works now?
Thank you.
Okay. Forgive me, folks. 3 years ago, Patagonia Inc., a for-profit corporation, privately held in Southern California, was 100% owned by 4 people. Yvon Chouinard, his wife Melinda, and their 2 children, Fletcher and Claire, all of whom worked at Patagonia. It was truly a family affair. They owned 100% of the stock in this company. 2% of that stock was voting stock. 98% of that stock was non-voting stock. Pretty conventional setup in a corporation. They owned all of it. Here's what they did. First, they took the 2% of the voting stock and they put it in a newly created vehicle called a purpose trust. And they called it the Patagonia Purpose Trust. And that 2% of voting shares just sits there forever locked up. That trust has a board that sort of serves as an additional board layer above Patagonia Inc. It's an additional governance layer. Hold that thought. They took the 98% of non-voting shares and they gave it to a series of 501c4 newly established nonprofit organizations. Those are charities, essentially, that allow them to give not only to charitable causes, but also make political donations. That's an important point. So here's how it now works. The Patagonia Purpose Trust instructs Patagonia Inc., the company, to donate all of the profits not reinvested in the company for salaries and R&D and everything else to the 501c4s, and that money goes out the door on an ongoing basis, like quarterly, which is tens of millions of dollars a quarter, as much as $100 million a year.
Yeah, I wanted you to explain that because I also want you to think about telling this audience how replicable that is. Can other companies do this, and can they do it in the same way?
Yeah, they can, but it's hard. So other companies are, I know, exploring it because my reporting has told me so.
Right.
But again, you have to remember, to do that, you need essential full alignment for the entire voting stock of a company. So it's not easy. And again, like Patagonia is a unicorn in some ways that is very hard to replicate, but I do think there are lessons in here. And I think one of the lessons is, I mean, the big lesson is like, you don't have to just, like profits don't just have to go back to investors, right? There are other things you can do with profits. And this is something that Chouinard and his family have always believed and always acted on. Sometimes to the chagrin of their employees, let's acknowledge, right? There are many people who worked at Patagonia over the years that would have liked to see a piece of that. There is a whole section in the book about efforts to sort of give the company over to employees and why the family ultimately resisted that. Nevertheless, the big lesson for me is, I think I talked about this consistency earlier. They wrote their first check to an environmental activist in 1973. Wow. It was $3,000 or so to a guy who was trying to protect the river in the backyard of the office building they were in at the time. You fast forward, and the compounding benefits of a leadership team that had the same vision, the same ethics, the same values over those years is extraordinary. And it's just like compound interest. Bam, they're giving away tens of millions of dollars a quarter now to the same kinds of causes. So is it replicable? Exactly, very hard. Can others learn from it and be inspired and find their own ways to do it? I sure hope so.
Yeah, me too. Paul Lightfoot of Patagonia Provisions was on the stage, I think in that same chair last night. How is...
He told me he got in trouble.
Oh, yeah, he did. It wasn't with me, though.
I just had lunch with Paul, so I heard about this.
He did, but it wasn't... that's another story.
Okay. I'm a reporter. I'm like supposed to cause trouble like this.
I'll tell you backstage. You made me lose my train of thought. See the intimidation factor. Anyway, how is Patagonia Provisions different than Patagonia? How have they started out differently? They're newer, obviously.
Yeah. So Patagonia Provisions is the like little food business inside a very big retail apparel business. What's interesting is relatively new, and I think it's enjoying real success under Paul that it hadn't previously. And it's something Chouinard has been working on for like 40 plus years. In the book, I document the long efforts by Chouinard and the Patagonia team to figure out how food could be a part of the solutions to the issues that they cared about. And in particular, this is oversimplifying, of course, but what they said was, at the end of the day, apparel is sort of a purely extractive business, right? You take things out of the earth and make things, and then they probably get thrown away or maybe recycled. In the best case scenario, food can be regenerative. And regenerative, like, I know that's a word that means anything to anyone at this point. Which is what Paul got in trouble for, by the way. Nevertheless, I think they saw real potential for example, perennial grains to sequester carbon, or small fish to clean up water systems. All these little fixes are things that have intrigued Chouinard and the team for many years. And we're finally at a point where Paul and his team are finding some ways to scale and make it profitable. And so the upshot is they've got a few different lines of business. The tinned fish is their biggest. They're tasty. They are, many people quick to point out, more expensive than other tinned fish. It's important to note. Nevertheless, I think they tell a good environmental story and they're scaling. They're also making beer with that includes kernza, this grain, the perennial wheat grass, wheat alternative that came out of the Land Institute. And then they're using regenerative organic wheat to make crackers. And so they've picked just a couple little verticals and are trying to scale. Now, in the book, Chouinard said, if he had his way, 50 years from now, Patagonia would actually be a food company, not an apparel company. And I thought that was an incredible vision, and improbable as it may seem. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I think it speaks to the depth of his commitment to this business and his real belief in the power of food systems as an avenue for change.
Yeah, absolutely. You've also written about, and we'll just talk about this briefly, that Patagonia Provisions has reevaluated its products to focus on taste more than, just the regenerative or sustainable part. Do you think food companies can do that, lead with flavor and still be sustainable?
What do you mean by sustainable,
Well,
Danny? Really,
better for the planet, better for us
this is the
as
issue.
humans.
Like,
yeah.
maybe I'll get in trouble now too.
No,
but
please.
if Nabisco uses, 2% regenerative organic wheat and slaps the word regenerative on a frozen pizza label, is that good? I don't know. Is that sustainable? I'm not here to judge, but I don't think that's the kind of change that people talk about when they are really envisioning how food systems can be transformed. And so, listen, I'm all for tasty food, but I think more than trying to just lead with taste and get a great product into the market that catches on, it seems to me that real durable systems change is going to come from the companies and the entrepreneurs that have really bold visions and sometimes unpopular ones about how things fundamentally need to change, and then figure out the products that can help them do that.
Absolutely. Final question, where can people find this book? Where do you want them to buy it?
Anywhere books are sold. I mean that. I mean, all of it is great. It's in bookstores right now. Go to your independent bookstore. I hate to say it, but Amazon is also an option where you can buy books. I will note that. But, support your local retailers if you are inspired. And I'm around. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Stay on the stage for just a minute. You can thank David. We have a few copies of David's book, Dirtbag Billionaire, to give away. If you look under your chair right now, some of you will have a fruit or vegetable sticker underneath. If you do, hold it up and then find a Food Tank.
A fruit or vegetable sticker.
A Food Tank team member later so that they can give you a book. I want to see who has it.
I don't know.
Yay.
Oh, someone got one in the back.
That's
All
great.
right.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Danny. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Go report. Thank you so much. All right, everyone settle down. We're going to get back to the program. We have one final conversation before our reception where you can eat, drink, and be merry. So to help us reflect on the conversations we've been hearing, I want to invite Dorothy Shaver back to the stage. So give her a round of applause. All right, Dorothy, a few questions just quickly, and then we can get to the interactive part. What stood out for you today?
Well, I think what stood out is that there was actually quite a bit of talk about habits and how companies can build habits, how influencers build habits. I think that, there's a lot of work to do, but I'm absolutely amazed with all of the speakers. I think it was an incredible lineup. I think that it was a really nice transition between kind of influencers, trendsetters, into habits, into politics, into writers. Right. So I think it was a really nice journey that we all took together through these sessions. So I think we can both be really proud of our event that we held today.
We did it.
Yeah, we did it. We talked about this for a long time about how do we actually shape and shift trends and habits to really lean into a better food future. And I think there's a lot more we can do in that space. I think there's a lot of challenges in behavior change, and there's a lot of different models. But the one that I really like to talk about is really around innovation and working with early adopters, and then moving into enabling the environment that lets people kind of take on that new habit, and then making sure that we create that culture. I think food culture was talked about a little bit, but it's really interesting how slowly food culture changes. Right. And I think we can all do kind of a little bit more to push and shift that in our homes, in our communities, and of course within our sphere of influence.
Absolutely. So we have about 14 minutes for an interactive session.
I love this part.
I know you love to talk to the audience.
Yeah.
So over to you.
I love this part. Okay. So the question is, does anybody remember the question? Do you guys want to stand up for a second? Are you okay? Maybe stand up. If you need to stand up, but don't go anywhere. Just take a little stretch, and I'm going to ask you the question. What habits are you going to help build in your home, community, and sphere of influence? And just to give you a couple, so I, of course, work for Unilever and have for quite some time in a variety of different roles. And I'll share a couple of examples of things that we have done. One that I'm personally very proud of is the program that we did, I think it was 2018, maybe 2017, where we worked with women in Nigeria to help them increase the amount of iron that they had in everyday meals through pumpkin leaves and iron-fortified Knorr cubes. And it was together with a song and a dance. If you stay long enough, maybe I'll teach you the dance. And that was really fun. And we actually did that together with the university in Nigeria and saw significant behavior change. So that's an example of utilizing our sphere of influence with one of these big brands to change behaviors. Another one you might remember is the Make Taste Not Waste campaign, which was Hellman's campaign for quite some years around getting people to make taste not waste, so decreasing in-home food waste. So I'm like looking at you guys to see if you want to raise your hand and tell me something. So I want you to don't just tell us anything though, okay? This is always like people are like, okay, I've been waiting for my second. But tell us what habit you're going to shape and shift for a better food future. Why don't you stand up with me?
Hi.
Give me a
now
break.
that we're in New York and it's New York Climate Week, now that we finally have residential pickup of compost, I just am talking to everyone in my life about organics and separating them and why it actually is better and worth doing. So I think that's something we can all do.
Great. Good
Awesome.
one. Great example.
That's great. Round of applause.
Let's hear another one. I think every individual has a habit that they can change and shift.
Hi, I'm a registered dietitian and I have influence in some large-scale food service settings. And so my goal is always to get, especially college students, to eat more fruits and vegetables and kind of shifting what their plate looks like. But my habit for college students, for myself, for all of us, would be to get everyone to eat a fruit or a vegetable at every eating occasion.
Oh, I love that. I'm also a registered dietitian. And Yves Turow-Paul, who was up here, works on a lot of those nudges on getting people to eat more fruits and vegetables. So that's a great one. That's one fact that I'm always amazed with is we're always like, oh yeah, education, education, education. Okay, if we all just needed more education, we would all be eating far more vegetables, and hardly anybody eats the amount of vegetables that they should eat every day. So we know that behavior change is further than just education. So I'm happy for anybody to share their learnings in that space as well, in the spaces of behavior change and how to do that.
There's someone over here too, but sure.
I'm working with a lot of the online groups, like the Buy Nothing groups on Facebook groups in my community, to give away a lot of the extra fruits and vegetables in my backyard that we grow every year, and a lot of the other people in my neighborhoods who also have extra fruits and vegetables that can't consume all of it. So looking to organize that.
Hi, I'm Liza Lamont. I'm from the American Sustainable Business Network, and I like to talk a lot about local food systems and trying to connect with farmers at farmers markets whenever you can. It's hard living in the U.S., eating seasonally and whatnot, but trying to source from local farmers whenever possible.
Hey, I'm Carl from Positive Change for Marine Life, and just moved over here to the States from Australia a few months ago, and noticed in the town that we live in northern Michigan that organic waste is an enormous challenge. There's around 19 tonnes produced a year, and I think about 5% of that's being managed. So we've started tracking the impacts of that organic waste into the Great Lakes, into Lake Michigan, but also on local health and landfill and methane as well. So what I did personally was bring my waste to the only composting site, which is about a 45-minute drive every week, to compost it. And then I was weighing up, is the petrol that I'm using to get there actually worth the impact that it's having? So now we're talking to a lot of tech companies. Since COVID, a lot of tech companies have moved to Traverse City. And we have interest to expand our black soldier fly larvae composting project, which sells to farms in India and the Solomon Islands, to come here and train homeless people and youth and people with drug addiction and other social challenges to start a social enterprise to address those 19 tonnes of organic waste. So really excited about not having to travel 45 minutes to dispose of my organic waste anymore.
That's an incredible example, because you're a first mover, so you saw the innovation, first mover, and now you need to create that environment that enables people to have access to that, right? And then the culture will come as you start to train people. So thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that. There's two over here.
The habit I would suggest, look at your food. Look at your food while you're eating. So I'm an immigrant. I was very surprised when I came over here. People are eating their food in the car. People are eating their food while they're crossing the street on foot. People are eating their food while they're filling out expense reports on a computer. And I was used to eating food at the kitchen table. And when you look at your food, you have an emotional connection, and you will actually ask questions. And both the emotions and the questions will actually lead to further good habits.
I love that one. Now, the enabling environment for that's going to be challenging, right? Because we need to get people to not do their spreadsheet while they're eating, not walk across the street while they're eating. So I think that idea of the innovative thought of looking at your food is a start, and then people need to start to adapt their behavior to create the culture that enables them to be in the space when they have their food. So to take those moments to really eat your food and understand what you're eating is really important. Thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Krishna. I'm a registered dietitian and a diabetes educator. I work for a major hospital system in New York, and for a lot of my patients living with diabetes, the one thing I tell them is to just cut out the soda and the juice. And it may sound simple, but when you've grown up drinking soda all of your life, it's really hard and challenging. So that's one. And just another one for a lot of my single patients, they don't feel like they're worthy enough to cook for themselves. And I always tell them that it's an act of love to cook for yourself, and to even prepare something small is something to be really proud of.
Wow. That's great. And that's also then, let's clap. That's also a really great one, because that's a challenge, right? Is that you need to also give somebody something else to drink if they can't drink their juice or their soda. So then there's an opportunity for companies to actually make better for you beverages, right? And then also with the second one, there's a lot of work going into really trying to help people make more meals for one, whether that's because they make their own meal and other people in their family like something different, or because there's a lot more households that are one. So hopefully that will be something that companies really lean into. And I know in Unilever we're thinking about that idea as well.
There's a hand right there.
I got it.
2 mics.
Wow. Thank you. I'm Anya. I live in Washington, D.C. And one of the things that I do is I grew up in Poland and spent a lot of time in the countryside, where I was really used to kind of walking down areas and finding berries hanging over fences. And so in Washington, D.C., what I do is I actually grow my berries specifically close to the fence, because I live between the elementary school and a middle school, and I want kids to have the same experience. And that's proven to be the case. My raspberries, for example, I remember one time my mailman came when they were ripe, and I think he's a man who's always grown up as an urban dweller, and he asked me, "Wow, are these raspberries? Can I try one?" And I said, "Sure, just pluck whatever you want." And when he went to try one, he had to ask me specifically, "How do I do it? Do I take it with the stem? Do I take it like this?" And I realized that was the first time he had ever plucked one from a bush.
Thank you.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love that. And I could visually see it as well. So thank you so much for that. And there's
Elena.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Marcela. I'm from Brazil. And what I would like people to think about is to take kids in the farms to see the food that is being grown, and advocate for fruits and veggies within public institutions such as schools, universities, and hospitals, because it's the only way we can form their habits and change the future and get people to eat healthy again.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And I think that goes back to kind of the connection to food, right? Making sure people feel connected to their food and feel that emotional pull, which is a huge part of food culture. We have time for a couple more.
I'm going to follow up on something that Danny had presented about a year and a half ago at the New York Botanical Garden on the
periodic table.
Yes, and the global foods. And since then, I had returned home and started Googling. So as I'm looking to expand my opportunities for foods, and also my mom is from the Caribbean, so then I started thinking about, well, what foods are high in potassium or calcium that are from the Caribbean. And now with AI, it's even better. You can find recipes using whether it's plantains, whether it's yuca, whether it's, well, okra is very New Orleans, but beyond the Mediterranean diet, because that was one of the issues.
Right.
So there are only certain foods that are currently being eaten because of this focus on the Mediterranean diet, whereas worldwide, whether you're from Poland or your parents are from Poland or from Brazil or from India, there are these wonderful foods out there that we're not tapping into. Right. And so I'm finding recipes for some of these products, and it's expanding the palate. So we talked today about expanding the palate, and and it's delicious stuff. I'm gluten-free, and if you're eating real food, it's gluten-free food, and it's been a wonderful experience. I'm not Gen Z, but hopefully this helps the Gen Zers.
Oh, I love that. So the habit that you have created, and the habit that you're going to bring out into the world even further, is variety, right? More variety of foods, looking into your culture, what types of foods we're eating, what types of foods we should eat, right?
Exactly. So when I go to a potluck, I'll bring those foods instead of
awesome.
So then others say, "Oh, wow, this is good." Yeah.
Fantastic.
So you're inspiring that change for others as well. Thank you so much. A couple more.
I'm Steve. Among other things, I'm a nut and berry farmer in Wisconsin. And perfect point on expanding the palate. That's a perfect setup for what I want to talk about. One of the berries I grow is called aronia. It's one of the 2 most nutrient-dense berries in the world. So a habit that I'm trying to get people to build is to consume more aronia. It has amazing demonstrated medicinal benefits, neurological benefits, etc. And so also to my friend from Poland back here as well, where these bitter berries are very popular, we need more people to consume these types of products here. So consume more aronia would be my overall pitch.
Great, thank you so much. And I think something that a lot of you are touching on is desire. So I think sometimes when we work in the space of food, we forget the whole area of desire. And I think it's really important for us to collectively continue to work to make sure that farmers, so I'm going to go end to end, make sure that farmers, of course, find it desirable to grow foods that are better for us in ways that are better for the planet, for biodiversity, for soil. So we need to really build that desire into the work that we do with farmers. And then on the other side, we have to work harder to build the desire into ourselves and into consumers, into our families, to eat foods that are better for us and are grown in better ways. And then the whole system will change. So then the whole line of all the other actors in the whole line of food will change, and that will naturally happen because that's supply and demand. So as we talk about these wider varieties of different foods and the way that we really go forward, once we really get farmers to want to grow those because they're easier, because they don't use as much water, because they strengthen the soil on their own, when we do that and then we get people to eat them, that's the magic equation. So that's what we all have to really learn to do, is really build that desire in all of the work that we do, continue to have hope, of course, that this is the way forward, and to continue to be really positive about it. I think as being a dietitian, it comes very natural sometimes for people who are dietitians and in the space of food to talk about all the foods that we shouldn't eat and that we should eat less of. And I think we really need to shift that and talk about all the foods that we should eat more of. And over time, the foods that are less good for us and good for the planet might just go away. So I think we have to fill our plates and fill our bellies with wonderful food, and then make sure that abundance is there wherever we can get it. And then hopefully over time, it will be a positive change for people as opposed to feeling neglected from foods.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. Building desire and demand, building hope, and building that abundance. I love this. This has been such a great session. I want to thank Dorothy from Unilever for allowing us to do this.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for being here.
Just a final few thank yous. Our culinary partners, great performances. Give them a round of applause. They're going to eat some more good stuff. WNYC, the production has been flawless. Give them a round of applause. Our FT team, Food Tank team, Bernie, all of them, they're just the greatest people on the planet, and I'm so lucky. Please give them a round of applause. And finally, thanks to all of you for being here, for participating, for being interactive, and thanks to those online who've really participated as well. Give yourselves a round of applause, and thank you.
round of applause to Danny. She
Thank
doesn't
you.
like it.
I'll stand out. No. Oh my goodness, stop it. No. Don't know what to do. Thank you all so much. Go eat.